Hi everyone, my name is Laurie and welcome along to another edition of AFTV FANZONE, the show that gives fans the opportunity to come on and air their views and have their say. But without any further ado, let me introduce my special guest in the house today. We've got James Bayliss from AFTV. What are you saying, James? How are you?
James Bayliss from AFTV on AFTV. Incredible. How did you pull that one off? I'm good.
Natural fit.
Thank you. I'm good. We were at Goodison a couple of days ago, and we know that the big topic of conversation for today, and we're going to talk about with all the fans calling in, download the app, is about how we finally get over this ridiculous run of form we're on. And you can call it poor, you can call it disappointing. It's just a ridiculous run of form. Everton haven't been a good team for a long time. This doesn't go back to the Martinez days where they had a team, trying to get into the Champions League, and yet we've only picked up 1 in 15 points. So we need to address that.
We do. Yes.
All our ideas and everyone else's too.
So as James kind of segued nicely into that then, so today's subject matter concerns Arsenal's away game in the Premier League this Sunday against Everton. It's Arsenal's 5th game of the season, the first game back after the international break. And we ask the question, how do Arsenal beat Everton at Goodison Park? Now, this is, of course, reference to the fact that Arsenal's away record at Everton over the past 5 seasons or so, let's be honest, it's pretty poor, isn't it? Let's be honest. In the last 5 away games at Goodison Park, Arsenal have failed to register a single win. I think it's 4 defeats and 1 draw. And like you said, James, that's despite Everton being, in the last few seasons especially, pretty poor overall. So we want to know how we can address that, how we can get back to winning ways. I mean, last season, just to give you some context, Everton were in a particular poor run of form. I think they were like 18th in the Premier League at that time. They just sacked their manager. And lo and behold, Sean Dyche's first game, beat us 1-0, which was very disappointing. I remember that game quite well because it was a pretty dour game, pretty physical game. And I think it was the 60th minute, they got a corner. And James Tarkowski, let's be honest, he pretty much out-muscled Odegaard, didn't he, at the far post, and was given a free run, got the header, and they went on to win 1-0. So that kind of gives you an indication of what we're talking about. So, we need to put things right. And I would say that this weekend is the time to do it. But how do we do it? James, how do we do it? How do we address it?
This is the big question, isn't it? Because when, like we just mentioned earlier, and this is what we want everyone to sort of call in and give us their thoughts. Why are there, like, bogey teams in football? Why do they exist? Why are there certain teams? You're a fight man, aren't you? What do they say? Styles make fights, right? Is that
absolutely?
If before I sort of go into what's that kind of based on in boxing? The fact that there's certain styles that can neutralize others. Is that
absolutely,
the idea?
Yeah. I mean, styles make fights is a phrase very much used in boxing, but you could argue that you could extrapolate it out to many, many sports. And the thought process behind that is that you have a certain fighter, or in this case, in football sense, a certain team that has a certain style that team A will find very difficult playing against, or team B, if you see what I mean. So let's use Everton as the obvious example. So Everton have a style, especially at Goodison Park, where it's quite a tight pitch. It's an old ground, quite an atmospheric ground. It's quite passionate there, very passionate on occasions. It will be on Sunday. And Everton have over the years adopted a style where they're not easy to beat at home. And what they tend to do is they're quite physical. And so the games, they're quite a big side as well. So the games tend to be quite attritional. And so what you find is that you have to almost earn the right to play in those games, because although you may have the more talented footballers, say, which I think it's fair to say that Arsenal do have. However, if Everton that is, engage you in a bit of a dogfight, then on any given day, they can overcome the sheer talent just by hard work, physicality and organisation, which is, all of those principles are things that Sean Dyche values very highly, and his teams tend to exhibit those qualities. So that's the thought process behind styles make fights.
Yeah, and I think there's been a degree of that with Everton Arsenal, in that for whatever reason, and I tried to make this point on the preview, we've not just been going to Everton having 30 shots at goal, having a bad day with our XG and not putting the ball in the back of the net. We've actually been comprehensively outplayed, certainly in our last 3 games there. I never left those games going, "Ah, on another day we win that." We've had chances to win those games, don't get me wrong. We haven't been totally appalling and totally devoid of ideas, but I came out of all those games going, yeah, Everton deserve to win them, especially the last 3 defeats in the row that have all ended. So last year was 1-0, the 2 before that were 2-1. So I think the big thing we want to sort of answer here and answer with everyone calling in is, what do Arsenal need to beat Everton? Because whatever we've kind of thrown at them in recent years, whether it's been Zinchenko inverting, we had that last season, the season before that we had Tierney overlapping, he actually helps Odegaard get a goal on the edge of the box, a standard Odegaard edge of the box kind of goal. We go 1-0 up, we couldn't hold on to it. So I sort of tried to compile a list of evidence for a player that I know you and Cecil have been on this show saying he shouldn't get game time. And look, I'm not Kai Havertz's biggest fan, but I feel like this is the kind of game that Arteta will have bought him for. And that might sound crazy, but hear me out. And again, that doesn't mean I'd start him. I actually declared on the preview shows coming out on AFTV that I would start Jorginho at the base and have Rice as the box-to-box. So I've already declared there that I would not have Havertz starting. But I do think this is the kind of game where he will start, as he started the other 4, and there's a reason why Arteta might have wanted him. So with the help of our lovely colleague Jack, big Arsenal fan, you'll have seen him on the watch-alongs as well.
Big up, Jack.
Fantastic bit of insight. Since we last won in 2016 at Everton, 3 of the goal scorers against us have been Jagielka, Phil Jagielka, remember him?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Yerry Mina and James Tarkowski.
Big Yerry Mina from Colombia.
Yeah. Yerry Mina, who actually left this summer, and James Tarkowski from a set piece. Now, I remember some of those guys. Can't remember the Mina one. I think that was a set piece one. But again, height, presence seems to have been an issue. So how have Arsenal sort of tried to address this sort of, in the past with when you're dealing with physical sides?
Yeah, it's a physical conundrum, isn't it?
Yeah.
Let's be honest. Yeah.
And Arsenal have normally, over the years, they've kind of resorted to, well, we'll play our football, we'll play our style, and ultimately, if we do our thing, we'll come out on top. But it hasn't really worked for us. Now, in last year's defeat at Everton, Arsenal won only 41% of aerial duels and lost the game to a set-piece goal. As we mentioned, James Tarkowski and his mismatch at the back post. That whole game, they were targeting the back post. And I don't believe that Arsenal just never learnt from it, never addressed it in game. I think they couldn't. I think they felt if we move players there, then we're short here. I think they just always felt like we don't have the answer to what they can do physically. Also important to know, if I just pull up the 11 here, Dyche in his first game recognised that there's also a physical, it's not just being good in the air, there's also physically something that Arsenal struggle with when you actually beat them for energy. They went for Doucouré, Gay and Onana as a midfield 3. They actually had a bit of joy with it at the Emirates, although we did end up running away with that in a 4-0 win. But with McNeil and Iwobi as providers on either wing, Doucouré, Gay and Onana to support Calvert-Lewin leading the line, they had a really physical, energetic, dynamic midfield 4 that were basically smothering Arsenal. And interesting enough, when I did my research, Everton actually have the 4th shortest pitch in the league, which shows you, listen.
Yeah, I did allude to that in my opening remarks when I said it's quite a tight ground.
It is a tight ground.
The way the fans are on top of the players, it can be quite a cauldron on its day.
Exactly. And how much difference 3 meters of length makes in there, maybe a little bit, but the point I'm making is that a little bit tighter, you can get into them, they can get to our midfield a little bit quicker when we're playing out the back. So why do I tell you all this? Well, because Kai Havertz, the one thing he has done, I genuinely believe well in an Arsenal shirt, is win his aerial duels and get in the walls aerially. Now, we haven't seen as much of it recently because he's been playing in midfield and we've been trying to break down the opposition like Man United, Fulham, whatever. But when he went up front against Palace and we had to go long and hold the ball up, and certainly when he started against Man City in the Community Shield, he had a really good success rate and helped Arsenal elevate their long ball success rate. Because if Everton are going to deploy a similar tactic and press onto us and really suffocate us, I don't think playing through them is going to work as much. They've still got that midfield 3 available. James Garner could come in as well. I think we're likely going to have to play over them, go above the press, and therefore get into their final third a little bit more efficiently. That's where Havertz could play a major role. Now, I've got here a stat that I brought up in the Tactical Insight show. Against Man City, if you look at our last 4 games, including the Community Shield, where in that first half, Havertz played really well. We had a 50% long ball percentage win rate when we were going long. In the 3 games before that, 42, 47 and 38%. So you see an improvement. While it is a small pool of information. Havertz leading the line gave us an outlet to beat the Man City press, and suddenly they didn't want to commit to it as much, and Arsenal were able to find a foundation to play their football. So I've thrown a load of evidence there at you, but the point I'm trying to make with all this is I think there's a very real chance that Arsenal, to beat Everton, are going to have to sacrifice a little bit of our playing out the back, a little bit of and actually be aware of the physical battle they can do, that they can, get involved with in midfield, but especially with their height, and have players like Havertz who not only allow us to play over them when we need to try and get up the pitch, maybe they're going to try and press us, we need to play around it a bit better. You go over the top, you go along to Havertz, but on set pieces where we've been vulnerable, you've got another 6'3" option who's there to help try and deal with them. I don't love the idea of Havertz playing, but I think there's a good chance we might have to go for it.
But you know what? You may be surprised to learn that I'm actually going to agree with you. Now, that may be a slight contradiction in terms, because I've been one of those guys who have been saying that maybe Havertz needs to be taken out of the team for his own good. Not because I don't think he's a good player, not because I don't think he will make it at Arsenal. I think he's had, 4 games already, no goals, no assists. I think he got a yellow card. And, of course, in the last game, there was the incident when he was through on goal. And rather than go through the gap, unfortunately, he went for trying to get a penalty, which didn't work out. Now, to me, that was a clear sign of a player that was perhaps lacking a bit in confidence, because what I'd have liked to have seen him is go through the gap and try and take that on and score. Anyway, he didn't do that. And we had all the conjecture, all the talk about should he be rested, should he not, should the manager stick with him. He went on the international break. He had a couple of games there. I think the first game, when they got beat by Japan, wasn't particularly fortuitous for him or Germany. But I note in the second game against France, he actually did a lot better in that game. In fact, I think he provided an assist for Sane, didn't he? In their
nice
somewhat surprise win. So he's coming into this game. My point is, he's coming into this game with a little bit of confidence, which is always a good thing. And I do think, going back to the old styles make fights mantra, that his size and his ability, his speed, will be assets and attributes that I think will work well in this game. So yes, I do agree. I think Havertz should start this game.
And the thing is, I could talk about, I said that I wanted Jorginho to sit and Rice to play as the box to box. You could have something like that because Rice could get forward. But I think for everything I've just said, I don't think Havertz is going to start up front. A, because Eddie Nketiah is in brilliant form, so it would be harsh to drop him. But also Jesus made a massive impact. So you've got 2 players that already it feels really harsh to not include. One of them, Trossard, did very well on international duty. So I don't think Havertz is going to start. But what I do think you're going to get is maybe Jesus starting in this game. And then what we saw in pre-season tour at times was Havertz starting as the left central midfielder, but moving to the front line, and then the striker dropping into that space. So they're alternating. And when you've got Zinchenko at left back who can come inside, you've actually got enough connections and you've got enough players to come in and pop it off and combine so that Havertz can all space invade and get forward and do that. So it's a very interesting test to see what we get out of Kai Havertz in this. Because I think he is going to start.
It's very intriguing.
It is, for sure.
And I personally think that he'll start. I do think the manager will keep faith in him. I mean, it could be argued that the manager has an emotional investment in playing Havertz.
I do think he wants to prove us wrong.
Yeah, so
as much
I
as
do
get it
think
right
there is that as well.
Yeah.
But I actually do think that playing Havertz in this game would be the wise choice. What do you guys think? I think we've got a call on the line, haven't we?
Yeah, I believe we do.
Hello.
Hey.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm good, man. How are you? I'm
I'm good, thank you.
Right,
Calm,
so
full storm.
you've seen the caption there. How do we win at Goodison Park?
I
Do we play Havertz?
don't think we should play Havertz. I'm going to throw a cold ball in.
Okay,
I
yeah,
think
please do.
we should start Fabio Vieira.
Right, and your premise for that is?
Because with Fabio Vieira, when he came on against Fulham, I thought he did extremely well and got us in the lead until we sadly messed up. And I just feel like with Vieira, I feel like he deserves his chance over Havertz. Because yes, with me, I would start Havertz in the Champions League game, not this game. Because with Everton or
PSV on next week, Wednesday, yeah.
Yeah, because with the Everton game, like James was alluding, the stadium's really tight. And it's really crowded. And I know it's not a night game, but it's sort of early evening in it sort of game. And I feel like if he does go in, I feel like the fans will get on his back more, especially the Everton fans. Right. So I don't feel like it's the right game to put him in there. But I feel like Vieira, what he's done off the bench, deserves to have a shout.
Could I just say, sorry to interrupt, could I just say, do you have any concerns over Vieira's perceived, and I say perceived, lack of physicality, giving up this game against Everton is likely to be a war of attrition.
That's one thing I am worried about with Vieira, is his physicality, but at the same time, his speed and his agility around the ball and all that could help him out in this game. As I don't think Everton have got the quickest centre backs in the world.
Okay, James.
So
Yeah. What was your name again? Sorry.
Alfie.
Alfie, pleasure to chat.
Yes.
Thanks for calling in. Look, I think that would be my main concern. I am a big Fabio Vieira fan. Laurie will actually probably tell you, I can't remember how many times we debated it, that the Vieiras, the Odegaards, I love these kind of players. And I do tend to believe that you get your best technicians on the pitch, you don't lose the ball, you'll be fine. I just think Premier League has moved on to a point where even Arteta, who comes from the school of Wenger and Guardiola and, you know, played with Pochettino, his ideas will all be about on the ball and playing good football. But I just think even he has conceded that you need physicality in there. And I think he's more likely to start Vieira for the PSV game. I think he's more likely to go group stage game where not everything's resting on that number one game.
My worry is for that PSV game isn't the PSV game. It's because we've got Tottenham straight after. And for me, Tottenham's more important. Well, not as important, but obviously more important than the PSV game. So my worry is, yes, in the first group stage, you want to go off wow. So that's what you want to do. But I'd rather sort of play a strong squad now, but also put in like a Vieira. But then in the second game against PSV, you then put Havertz in at home, which I feel like will be all right for his confidence, and go from there, sort of thing.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Because the thing with Havertz...
I'm sorry to cut you off, but I was just going to say we've got quite a few calls. People want to call in, have their say. But listen, bro, thank you very much.
That's right.
Mate, articulated your points very well. And so you go with Vieira. We'll see what the other callers have to say. But thank you very much, and please call back soon.
Yeah, we'll do. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Cool. I believe we have Michael next. How you doing? Hey.
Hey guys, how you doing?
All right, good. Thank you. Very good. How are you?
Good. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Gabriel Jesus come in for Saka on the right wing.
Well, that's very interesting because that point was actually raised in the office this afternoon by a colleague of ours. Shout out to Kaz. And he suggested trying that. So, yeah.
Can I jump
give us
in?
your thought process behind
I'm massively in favour of this. Michael, you bring this up. I am, and by the way, apparently I'm on mute in the comments, so apologies about that. But I'm a massive fan of this idea because Bukayo Saka, there's now reports of a potential Achilles problem that he's just sort of playing through, but largely he's okay. We know that Jesus had one of his best seasons for City, actually playing out on the right. Guardiola used him there. I just think it's crazy not to think that there are other options in Saka, and he's not started his best. So take it away, but I'm with you.
And there is the fact that we've got 3 difficult games, or potentially difficult games, in 7 days. Obviously, we've got the Everton game on Sunday, we've got the Champions League game against PSV in the week, and of course, another big game on the Sunday following against Tottenham. Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to point out is that our bad results against Everton at Goodison in the last few seasons have mostly come when the match is much later in the calendar. Right. And this time it's like our 5th match, so we're not going to have the same problem of being mentally and physically worn out by the time we actually get there.
That's a good point, actually. That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a very good point.
Do you think there's a physicality that we can't deal with when we go there? Like, do you believe in this idea that smaller pitches, bigger teams, louder crowds, do you think that's just something that Arsenal struggle? I think we've been a lot better at it recently, but we still lost when the going got tough at Goodison last year.
I mean, I think the problem is dealing with a team that's playing the low block and is cynically trying to do whatever they can to kill off the game and nick it at the end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Sorry, you go ahead.
No, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see this game decided by a late goal by a substitute. Someone like Trossard or ESR coming in the 80th minute and coming in with fresh legs and beating a tired defense.
Yeah. You're speaking well about subs there, and I agree, especially because we've got difference makers on the bench. But what would your starting 11 be? Because, Arteta's got a headache because of the impact Jesus has made, because of Havertz is in different form, and I'm being polite when I say that. What would you go with, or what do you think he'll go with? What do you want him to go with?
Something tells me we're going to see Kivior in the defense, just for reasons of physicality. Again, stuck in that left back position. I'm not sure that's the right choice, but I think that's something we're likely to see. I don't think he's going to rotate anybody else in the defense. We need the size and physicality of all three of the others. I don't know about Havertz. I think you make a good point that, if Havertz is going to come good, it's going to be in a match like this. You don't drop Odegaard, you don't drop Eddie, you don't drop Martinelli. You certainly don't drop Rice. So what are you going to do? We play our style and hope for the best.
Yeah, I think I agree.
Okay,
all right,
Michael. Thank you very much.
Yet time serves wherein you may redeem your banished honors and restore yourselves into the good thoughts of the world again. Revenge the jeering and disdained contempt.
There's one word in particular that stuck out in that very articulated poem there, and that was revenge. And we need revenge on Sunday.
Absolutely.
But listen, bro, thank you very much. Have
Good.
a nice weekend.
See you then.
Take care.
Bye.
Yeah, he makes some good points. He brought up Kivior there, because while we talk about this physical battle, we haven't actually acknowledged whether Zinchenko maybe needs to come out. Did well against Man United, had an impact when he came on against Fulham. But, it's not like having Tomiyasu or Kivior where there's a natural defender there who stands 6'2 plus and is able to help deal with what they're going to throw us. Because you've been, if I heard you right in the office, or I know I have been, impressed by Beto, who started Everton at Sheffield United. He looks a handful.
Yeah, I mean, they've got a few players different to what they had last year, and Beto is one of them. Is it? Danjuma as well.
Yeah.
He's likely to figure.
I like him.
Iwobi won't be playing, which I think is a big miss for them. I'm not sure about Doucouré. I don't think Doucouré played in the last game. I know Doucouré and Onana was so influential for them in midfield.
I want to have a little look at their last 11.
But my point is as well is that although we all are pretty much we all agree that this game is going to be physical, it's going to be attritional. Certainly that's what we think. But we don't want to get overly consumed with that. We do want to play some football as well, because we do have players that can damage Everton. And it's interesting because Everton have lost both of their home games this season, and they're in a very similar position in terms of where they are in the league to when we played them in the corresponding game last season away.
They are.
They're in the bottom three places. But
well, I was talking to an Everton fan about their form, and I was sort of saying, look, I probably shouldn't judge it all on match of the day, but I said to him, look, so you lot have been a bit unlucky. When I look at the chances you've had, he said, mate, this is the thing, positionally, 1 point out of 12, we all feel pretty, deflated. But when you look at the games, he said we've created enough chance to win 4 games, let alone, just the 1 point we picked up. And I've got here 15 shots they had at home to Wolves, 7 of them on target. I mean, it's pretty good. 1 every 2 shots. You're asking a question of the keeper. They end up losing that game 1-0. You look at the game before that at home to Fulham. I remember watching this match today. I couldn't believe it. 19 shots they had. Yeah, they only have 40% of the ball, but that is start to start. But still to have 19 shots from 40% possession, 9 of them on target. Again, very efficient when they have shots. They're asking questions of the keeper. And they didn't score. At Sheffield United, again, just having a look at it here, 16 shots away from home. They are asking a lot of questions of the opposition. And they've only scored 3, is that 3 goals this year or 2? Try that, because they haven't scored in the 2. No, so they've only scored 2 goals, and the 2 came against Sheffield United, but they've been really unfortunate. And
I did hear Sean Dyche makes a statement to that effect, saying that the performances have been better than the results. Obviously, as far as I'm concerned, we're hoping that, doesn't turn around in terms of goals, because we need the win.
I think there's a very real chance that they will stick it on us and they will have some joy. I think this could be maybe a more open game than we're used to seeing.
Well, I'm kind of expecting a very similar game to the one that was played out last season, insofar as their approach to the game.
Yeah.
I think they'll try and make it physical. They'll try and make the pitch small. There'll be a lot of pressing, if not pressing, but they will be, as soon as we get the ball, they'll be on us. I'm expecting that. But I'm also expecting us to be expecting what they're going to bring, and we'll be able to match that. We've got enough physical players.
There shouldn't be any surprises.
Yeah, exactly.
There really shouldn't.
I do think that Michael made an excellent point when he said that obviously the game away to Everton last season was at the end of a very towards the end of a very grueling season, and that may have taken some account of it. You know what I mean? So we'll see. We got another caller.
Yeah, Robin. Robin, welcome to AFTV FANZONE. How you doing?
Thank you. Good. You?
Nervous? Football's coming back.
Me too.
Let me ask you something. Oh, sorry. Before we get into the nuts and bolts of this game, do you prefer Arsenal playing first thing on a weekend, say Friday night or Saturday morning, in the hope we win, and then you can just enjoy the rest of the football, or do you prefer when we play last, so that no matter what, you can enjoy all the football, and whatever Arsenal do ultimately can't, it either ends on a high, or if we lose, it hasn't ruined your weekend completely?
I would say the last.
Yeah,
I would say last. I wouldn't want to play first on Monday, on a Saturday or Sunday. It's what you just said. It would ruin my weekend.
Okay, Robin, so let's get down to it. So you're the manager against Everton, a ground that, let's face it, we've been pretty poor at in the last 5 seasons. You've been given the task to beat Everton on Sunday. What do you do? Do you make any changes to the team? What will your tactics be?
I don't think we should change that much. I believe that the team we played the last few games should be able to win that game. Right. I know that the last 3 seasons we haven't won there, and Everton play quite physical, and with Sean Dice as their coach, they will play long balls and stuff. So, but I think that our defenders should be able to deal with that, and we should have enough in front to make the difference, in my opinion.
What about midfield? Because last season there was clearly an issue there when some people would say we got overrun. But okay, we got bested in midfield. Anana and Decore, Iwobi, guys like that. They gave us a hard time in midfield. Would you make any changes to that midfield lineup?
I don't know. I don't know. Like Rice should play. I don't know. Havertz. What else would be the option? Jorginho.
That's my shout. Mine is to have Jorginho at the base with Jorginho at the base with Rice as the box to box. I just think the thing about Everton is they are going to have energy in midfield. They are going to work hard, and we are going to need to almost physically batter through them at times. And even though I just made a real claim for Havertz starting, and I gave my reasons why I think Arteta will start him and why I don't hate the idea of him starting, I also have to say that being physical isn't just being 6'2", 6'3". There are plenty of people who are really tall but aren't the strongest. It's about, that's why you have weight classes in boxing. It's about what you do with your body. And Rice might be, just a touch smaller than Havertz, maybe, but he's better at using his body in a more complete nature. He's better at running into tackles. He's better at covering ground with his legs. He's better at a lot of stuff physically to Kai Havertz. And in the air, I think he's probably better. So I would ultimately get Jorginho in there to help get us on the ball and allow Rice to get forward and press and do his thing.
Yeah, that could be an option. I do think that I do think that Rice could do a job in the 8 position and Jorginho in the 6. So I have never been I've never said anything bad about Jorginho. I've always thought that he was a quality player, so he should be able to step up and play this game. So it wouldn't be a problem for me necessarily.
Yeah. Any score predictions? Anything you... Well, leave the show with a bold take. A nice bold
I would say
6-0 Arsenal.
No. I would say 3-1. 3-1. Yeah, their most dangerous player is Danjuma, in my opinion. Very quick and skillful. So, and I think he has scored the last game or the game before that. So, and they brought in a new striker, Beto, but I don't really know that much about him.
We know he's big. We know he's strong. We know he's capable. He came from Portugal. He had a good reputation over there. Speaking to a few of the Everton fans, I mean, I know it's early days, but they seem to like him. So I would imagine that if he does get a game on Sunday, he'll probably give us a few problems. He'll be up for it.
I was just looking up, right? There's a game that stood out to me. I don't know why. 30th of August 2014, Chelsea went to Goodison Park, and they were a good side at the time, Everton. They nearly beat us to Champions League football in the months before, but we got it and we won the FA Cup. But anyway, Chelsea went to Goodison Park. They just signed Fabregas, Mourinho's second season. There's expectations they'd win the title. And I remember thinking, this is a tough game. You know, Everton away, Goodison, it's just nasty. I think they might have lost there the year before. And I was thinking, okay, let's see what Chelsea are made of. They won 6-3. And it was one of those where it was early in the season, so maybe Goodison hadn't really got going, and Everton hadn't really got going, whatever. But it was just such a statement, because Goodison's always seen as like a real test of your title credentials. And we went there and they went there. I'm not a Chelsea fan. They went there. We need to go there. And maybe not 6-3, but we need to go there and do something that resembles flexing, that resembles saying to everyone, look, this is, we really are here, and Goodison's no problem for us.
Well, one thing is an absolute prerequisite, is that the attitude has got to be right. And I'm trusting that the manager and the players between them will take on board just how potentially difficult this game can be, and that they'll be in the right mindset. And that as well goes with concentration. The one thing we don't want to see tomorrow is what we saw a couple of weeks ago, giving away early goals. Errors that, let's face it, man, we should not really be giving away goals like that. So we've got to keep our levels of concentration high. Right, we've got another call on the line. Simon, I believe. Is it Simon?
Yeah, welcome to FANZONE, Simon. He doesn't realise he's on.
He seems a bit distracted. Hopefully we'll get him back. Yeah, so James, it's very important that we start the game well tomorrow.
Yeah.
And when I say well, I don't just mean, plunging into tackles. We've got to keep our levels of concentration. We don't want to be giving it. The worst thing you can do at a place like Goodison Park, especially when the fans will be up for it, as no doubt they will be on Sunday, is to give away an early goal.
Well, there's a fantastic comment here from Tommy I just want to bring up on this physicality discussion, which has sort of generated a lot of the conversation today. Tommy Mercer says, against Newcastle at St James's Park, we replaced a physical Partey for a smaller Jorginho. I think we will go to play because we won't win if it comes down to physicality. Now, Tommy, that's a really good point. It's also something Arteta said. He said if we went physicality for physicality, we wouldn't win. And yes, that is true to a degree, but I think Arteta was doing a disservice to how physical we were in that game in terms of Jorginho. Yes, he's smaller, but he was winning his duels. His understanding where to be was brilliant. Granit Xhaka was a box-to-box monster in that game. And a lot of that, I'm talking about off the ball, but I think Havertz gives us physicality going forward. He gives us a way of bypassing their press. So physicality is a very vague term that can manifest itself in different ways. I think in this game, I could see how Arteta might see us being physical as a bonus, as a way to stifle what Everton do best. But I agree with Tom. It's a good point.
Oh yeah, it's a good one. And I did allude to that earlier. I said you don't want to be consumed with the physical side of the game. You do need to be able to play your football. But you see, therein lies the issue. In a lot of games like this, I would say you have to earn the right to play football. So Everton are gonna, if not come out the traps, because I don't think they're going to come out the traps, but they will be physical. So you have to at least match that physicality, that intensity. Yeah. And then once you have pretty much won that battle, then the class should show through. Yeah. Right, I think we got Simon back on the line, and he's looking at us, so that's a good sign. He looks.
Welcome to FANZONE, mate.
I can't hear you.
Oh, you can't hear us?
You can't hear us? Oh, it's a shame we can hear you.
I can't hear you.
Oh.
We can hear you perfectly, so I'm not sure what's going on there.
Maybe we could have dropped him out and bring him back in.
We'll see if it's third time lucky. But this is also an opportunity to let everyone know that Simon is joining us via FANZONE. You can see it here. It's all said down here.
Yes, as we were saying. And
AFTV Plus.
It's funny because a thought just came through my mind. I was talking to Robbie this morning, as we do, given that we're brothers. And we were talking about this game, obviously, and the whole subject of the proposed takeover by, is it 777? Yeah. 777, not 666. Yeah, they're planning to take over Everton, and we were saying, okay, that takeover won't go through, obviously, before the game on Sunday, but we were wondering that whether that was leaked in advance of the game on Sunday to kind of increase the vibe around the club.
New owner bounce.
Yeah, new owner bounce. Well, actually, Robbie did use that term. He said that there could
we've
be,
heard it all now.
Yeah. No, but I mean, at this level, any little thing that you can
Well,
get an advantage or a G up, you take, don't you?
Yeah, but
So do you think that was very carefully put out there in advance of the game to sort of galvanise the fans and the Everton fans?
I'm actually going to say no, I don't.
Oh, you don't? Okay.
I'll tell you why. I spoke to a guy called Matthew Neal. Go follow him at Matthew Neal 1 on X. It's not called Twitter anymore, obviously. I was speaking to him on a podcast I do, and big Everton fan. I wanted to really get an understanding for everything going on at Everton, and I asked about the new owners. Really fascinating insight. He was saying, and I know that the latest reports, that the club statement confirmed a deal had been agreed, but he was saying, and in fairness, he was saying this in advance of the club confirmation that a deal had been agreed, that he's still very sceptical about this deal. He's still very sceptical about whether this is actually what goes ahead. There have been other buyers who had come to see Everton a lot, and it was a feeling that they were going to get it over the line, but actually now 777 partners have kind of taken over, which kind of came a little bit out of the blue apparently. But the other big thing to note is that I'm not sure Everton fans are massively on board with this, because they are part owners in clubs like Standard Liège, Sevilla, Hertha Berlin. Standard Liège fans over the weekend staged a sort of a protest, raising a banner saying, in I can't remember what exactly it said, but basically in protest of the ownership who haven't apparently funded the club as much as possible. Now, whoever comes in to buy Everton have debts to repay, have a stadium to build, and have money to put into the club, into the playing staff, because the squad is nowhere near. I've just been looking now at Everton's seasons. The last 3 seasons, they've made a net profit in the transfer window. They've sold more than they've bought, and it stands at around £54 million net profit they've made from sales, which tells you that they're not really reinvesting. And they haven't had many sellable assets. Richarlison for 60 million is one of them, but they haven't had that many, which tells you that they're having to really get rid of a lot for as much as they can, whether it be, I'm looking at, Lucas Digne went to Aston Villa, I'm looking at others, Anthony Gordon, they got 45 million for, to be fair, that is a pretty sellable asset, they've done well there, but Alan has gone on a free transfer, Alex Iwobi for 20 million, which isn't a great fee, Damari Gray for a couple million here and there. So I say all this to say that whoever comes in has a lot of work to do financially, and an ownership that is being called out for not doing enough financially by Standard Liège fans, I don't think is going to give Everton fans the real, come on, let's rally together, that I think Arsenal fans are fearing it will.
Yeah, that's a very, thanks for that, James. It's very good insights there. But yeah, I was just looking at it, myself and Robbie were talking about the fact that this has come out a couple of days before the game. It was probably not an accident. And Robbie and I were speculating that, could this be a way of trying to galvanise the fans, give it that little bit of feel-good factor before the game. But looking at the game, I mean, I did mention it earlier, it's quite eerie, really, when you think about this game. It's such an interesting thing that although it's at different times of the season, and Michael did make that point, but if you look at the backdrop to the games, it's very similar to last season. So... So when Sean Dyche took over as Everton manager, I think Frank Lampard was the manager for Everton. He got sacked on January the 30th. Then I think Sean Dyche took over, second from bottom, with only 15 points from 20 games. So they were bang in trouble. Yeah. I think before the Arsenal game, they'd had like 9 defeats in the previous 12 games. And this season, we're playing them 4 games in. They've not won a game all season. Only 1 point. They're looking down the barrel, and guess who rolls into town? Arsenal. Yeah. So it's very interesting.
But it's motivation, isn't it, for Sean Dyche to play? Sean Dyche in that dressing room will be looking at the players and going, "You lot have played really well. So okay, you haven't given the fans the results they'd have wanted and hoped for. You nearly lost it at Sheffield United, albeit for an unbelievable save from Jordan Pickford late in the game. And I think he'll just be saying to them, it starts now. Your season starts now."
Do you think they've got a better team this season than they had last season? I
refer to some of the deals they've done, right? So they lost Damari Gray, who hasn't been good since his first 3 weeks at Everton. Basically, his first 3 weeks were incredible. He got a great goal at City. That's pretty much all we've seen from Damari Gray. Alex Iwobi, one of their better players. Moise Kean didn't really work for him at Everton. you look at the players they brought in. Beto, I'm only judging it off one performance in the league, but looked a real handful. I like Danjuma. Not Ashley Young's biggest fan, but whatever, he does a job in a couple of different positions. And Jack Harrison on loan from Leeds, I think it's a true bit of business. Good, decent delivery on him. Can play right and left, decent with both feet, and he could be a really good supplier for a Calvert-Lewin. So if
I think Calvert-Lewin he's been injured quite a lot over there, but I think he's due back this week.
So where last season they were hoping for Iwobi to stick it in the box and Mopai was having to start a lot of their games, suddenly you got Danjuma and Harrison as wide players who can do something. You've got Dwight McNeil there as well, who's played under Sean Dyche. And if it's not Calvert-Lewin, who's 6'2" and fantastic in the air, it's Beto, who early on is 6 foot something and looks good in the air. Suddenly you think, well, at least there's some depth there. At least Sean Dyche is probably going to be able to play the kind of football he wants, that very efficient. And by the way, I'm not knocking it. Man City and Guardiola are going a lot more long to Haaland than ever before. So I'm not knocking the idea of going long. It's effective. It causes team trouble. So overall, I'd say yes. I think they are. I think they are better than last season.
I would say so.
Despite losing all these players we mentioned, Yerry Mina has gone to Fiorentina on a free transfer. Tom Davis has left. Mason Holgate's gone out on loan. Neil Mopay's gone back to Brentford. Of course, that was the club he was at before he moved to Brighton and then moved to Everton.
That signing did surprise me when Mopay went there, I must say.
Yeah, weird one. But again, I think it kind of makes sense. I can't really see them. They've also brought this Chermiti guy, who I think's a winger.
And of course, they've still got Anana and Decore in midfield.
Anana, Decore, Gay as well, James Garner. So they've got some legs in there. So considering they are going to be playing pretty much the same first 11 every week for 38
Was Gordon
games.
there when we played them? Anthony Gordon?
No, he'd left.
Oh, he'd left by
Let me try to get the Everton squad up.
Oh yeah, you would have gone in the January window, innit? To Newcastle. Yeah.
Do you rate him?
I do think there's a player there. He's lively. On his day, he can cause a few problems. He's probably not as good as some people would have you believe in the press. But I do think there's a player in there for sure.
I think he's all right. I mean, of course. Andre Gomez, he's not still there. By the way, he's another player who Sean Dyche makes Andre Gomez transfer admission and shows. I don't know.
So I think we both agree then that there's a few journeyman players in the team, but they do have some pretty good players as well.
Yeah,
and of course Jordan Pickford is an excellent goalkeeper.
And we remember Dele Alli's interview on the overlap with Gary Neville, and we know that he's taking time out of the team. But you wonder whether that's a player that, having played as a second striker before, having now sort of spoken very publicly about everything, when he's ready to return, is that a player that Sean Dyche can really help and actually maybe fit really well into his system?
So they do have threats.
They have threats, as I mentioned. McNeil as well is there. Yeah,
I must admit, I am a little worried about Beto because I spoke to an Everton fan during the week and he was eulogising over the player and saying, look, we got a real guy up top. And Arsenal beware, he was basically saying. So that'll be interesting to see how he plays out. I mean, of course, defensively, we're solid. Saliba, Gabriel at the back. I trust those two implicitly, although it has to be also said, we bigged up Havertz. Yeah. But apparently Saliba's international rate wasn't that good by all accounts.
Apparently Havertz had him spinning and twisting and slipping a few times.
Well, I think I saw some publication where they're giving him 3 out of 10.
Who?
For that game, Saliba against Germany.
Oh, was that a keep?
I'm not sure, but apparently it wasn't his best game for France.
Fair enough. I think we've got another caller.
Yeah, we have. Yeah.
Hey, how you doing? What's your name?
Hey, hi guys. My name is Kostas. I'm from Greece. First time caller. How are you?
Amazing, Kostas.
Where are you calling from?
Greece. From Greece.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Big Arsenal fan from here.
Oh, excellent.
Oh, amazing.
How do you fancy the game?
Yeah, how do we? Well, that's what you're here.
Well, I've got to admit, I'm a little nervous about this game, man, because on paper we should beat them. But then we said that last year, and we came a cropper. And I just
we have said that the last 5 years. I think it's going to be a very difficult game.
Yeah. I'm trying to be optimistic, but I have my reservations.
I think it's going to be a draw, perhaps 1-1. I think Martinelli will score in this game. I really hope it too.
Why do you single out Martinelli for glory?
I don't know. I have this feeling like the last 5 games I have predicted the right scorer, so I think it's gonna be Martinelli this game. It's his time, I think.
Okay. And I've got to ask you quickly. I know James is going to want to ask you a couple of questions as well. But why do you think we've struggled at Everton over the last 5 seasons so consistently? Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I think we have been a bit of a like in last year. We lost a lot of chances in the first half, and then they just score. And I don't know. Maybe it's a mentality thing because it has been happening for the last like 6 years. Perhaps we need to prep a little bit better for this kind of for Goodison Park. It's a very good stadium. I have been there. It's gonna be very difficult. Maybe it's mentality. I think because the team is good.
And you would have thought as well that the manager, Mikel Arteta, he played at Everton for many seasons. So you would have thought that I'm sure he's told them exactly what to expect.
He'd understand it, yeah.
But regardless, it still hasn't worked out. James, you got any questions for Costa?
Yeah, well, actually, I'll let you answer that a bit first on Arteta being former Everton. I mean, yeah, he should know what's coming.
Yeah, but the manager can do so many things. After a point, it's up to the players to play and win the game. You can give instructions, you can tell them what to do, but you can't score the game. You can't score the goal to win the game, unfortunately.
Yeah, agreed. I wanted to ask you about something that's doing around Costas, if you don't mind me asking. It's not a loaded question because I've never seen Arsenal win a league. I became a fan after the Champions League final. I'm not sure why losing such a heartbreaking game got me hooked on football, but that is just the way it works sometimes.
Me too, to tell you the truth. After the final was the starting season to watch.
So very similar time. So okay, I feel great asking you this then. A little something is doing the rounds on social media, ranking 4 number 8s for Arsenal, and I'd just love to know where you rank them. So the players are Nasri, Arteta, Ramsey and Ødegaard. Your best to worst, and you can judge it how you want. You could judge it off talent, you can judge it off what they gave to Arsenal. I'm just curious how you'd rank the 4 number 8s. It's made for interesting discussion.
I think for me Ødegaard has to be number 1.
I agree.
It's clear for me. Arteta number 2 perhaps, because besides the capability that he had, yes, because he had the capability to score goals, but also he was a leader for me in the team as much as I was. And Nasri 3rd, which was the last one?
Ramsey. So Ramsey 4th.
Yeah.
Wow.
For me, I just think that Ødegaard is the first, and the others you can change them a bit, but Ødegaard is the first for me, for sure.
Yeah. Well, no. For the record, mine is Ødegaard, because I think his talent, him and Nasri's talent, is comparable. And I think Nasri was immense and obviously won the league and did brilliant things in the Premier League. I just think Ødegaard, having worn the armband, scored big goals against big teams in big moments. And I think his goal-assist ratio is slightly better. I know Nasri went on a run. I might be wrong about that, though. But so I think Ødegaard just nicks it because of that. But then Nasri 2nd, because I just think he was ultra-talented. Ramsey 3rd, because while I think Arteta was a more gifted on-the-ball player, like he was more passing me, the style of player I really like, I think Ramsey, his box-to-box, his energy, played a few different positions, and the most important thing, had so many clutch moments for Arsenal. I actually think Aaron Ramsey is somewhat slightly overrated because he's remembered for the big moments he had. And actually, people forget how many times he wasn't in good form and how many times he wasn't that goal-scoring midfielder. But when he was a big player for us. Scored in North London derbies, several of them actually. Scored in 2 FA Cup finals, won us 2 FA Cups, and for that, you've got to give him the utmost respect because when
I get your point, of course.
Turned up. Yeah.
Very nice.
Any thoughts on that?
That's an interesting take. I think I probably would put Ødegaard, or certainly, if not there already, on his way to being top of that list. I might be tempted to put Ramsey above Nasri because he was a big game player for us. And I know he had
it's not that Nasri wasn't it's not that like Nasri. I remember playing well at the Etihad. I remember playing very well, not for City, for us. I remember him scoring against Man United. By the way, great call, Costas. Fantastic to chat to Costas. But yeah, Top Gunner agrees with me question. Here. But yeah, I think a lot of people.
I think as well, it might have something to do with legacy. I think the way Nasri kind of left the club in a bit of a unpleasant way.
The way he left was, and the things he said after were infuriating for me.
Yeah, and there were, let's be honest as well, there were patches of form that were indifferent with Nasri. Some people even question his attitude for a while. It's a difficult one, but I'd probably lean towards Ødegaard, but there are some very good players in that list.
Well, if you based it on legacy alone, Ramsey's number one. I mean,
Yeah.
scoring 2 FA Cup finals,
That's
you
right.
know, taking us from 12 FA Cups to 14, and he's played in others as well. Let's not forget, he started on the right wing when we beat Villa 4-0. Just because he didn't score on them doesn't mean he didn't play in them. You know, Ramsey more than had his bit, you know, that great goal scoring season where he really drove us on a run that we thought we might win the league that year. We weren't good enough to, but, you know, he gave us that hope. Yeah, there are a lot of things, and also you got to remember that Ramsey did it coming back from one of the most horrific leg breaks in football ever. You know, to come back from that and respond, I think you can see his game was slightly impacted. He was a slightly different player after that, but you know, he to come back from that and become a player who had the career he did is amazing. Had the moments he did was amazing. I just think ultimately,
Still going now.
Sorry, he's
Still going now.
and he's scoring goals for
He is,
Cardiff.
yeah,
I think
yeah.
he scored an unbelievable goal for Cardiff the other day. So there's a lot to love about Aaron Ramsey. I just think he's remembered as slightly more than he truly was for us, if we're being really
interesting.
honest.
That's interesting.
And I think Nasri, Erdegaard, and I chuck other midfielders who've had like Cazorla. You know, I think they were brilliant for us, but they also could go.
Cazorla's
and
one of my favourite players, man.
yeah, I love Cazorla. I think they could also go play for some of the best and all our rivals and league winners and not look out of place. I'm not sure I could quite say the same for Ramsey.
And big up Mikel Arteta as well for making that list, because I can remember a time, I'm old enough to remember, when Mikel Arteta was playing for Everton, even though he's Spanish, there was a lot of people talking about him playing for England at that time.
Yeah, was that because
Yeah,
he never
yeah.
made an appearance, so he could have
that's
played.
right. So he was playing that well
Yeah.
that he was in England contention, apparently. It didn't quite happen for whatever reason, but I do remember that.
I love
And that was,
I love these comments. By the way, I love the, you know, I love everyone in the comments getting their thoughts, send them in. But I love when this kind of thing comes in. Well, love/hate. There's a thin line between love and hate. Jalen25 says he was not overrated. Rubbish analysis. Well, first, it wasn't an analysis. It was just an opinion, or just some thoughts on why I didn't think he was.
I think
as
there's
good.
a difference
But
between what you said is you didn't actually call him overrated. I think you said that maybe some people had rated him higher than
I think
you would.
I think some
Doesn't
of the
mean to say
fans.
you don't rate him.
Well, let me put it this way, Jalen. And Jalen, like, give me some more detailed thoughts. We'll read them out. We'll get your opinions. What I mean is, there have been legitimate debates and discussions amongst Arsenal fans about whether Aaron Ramsey is a legend, and I think that's ludicrous for me. I don't think he's. Sure, the 2 FA Cup final moments are amazing, and if you want to say, you know. Well, they say cult hero. Is that you know? There's other phrases you can use, but
Nowadays,
legend?
the phrase "legend" is so diluted.
he's not a
You
legend.
can be a legend just by on appearances.
He's
at
not
some
an
clubs.
Arsenal legend.
Yeah.
He contributed to some serious history, and I give him that. But he wasn't an Arsenal legend. Like Arsenal legends.
Yeah, I would probably agree with that. But he was
Yeah.
a very good player.
He was.
But like I said, the word "legend" is so diluted these days.
He was
that-
at his best a very good player.
Yeah,
but there
I would agree.
there really were spells where
they were in different.
he
spells.
was very underwhelming. I'll see if I can draw up some evidence while we.
But I know you like stats, James, and this is one for
Hit
you,
me.
right? So, and this is more relevant to the game on Sunday. So, I came across this stat which I thought was quite interesting. Arsenal's Gabriel Jesus has scored 8 goals in just 9 Premier League appearances against Everton, more than he has against any other opponent. So that's cause for optimism.
Yeah. So some players love.
Yeah.
They just love certain opposition.
Again, styles make fights. Obviously, Everton is an opponent that Gabriel
funny 'cause
Jesus
I can't now. I
would
can't
appear
think
to
of
look forward to playing against.
Now I can't think of a single goal he has scored, even for Man City against them. But yeah, he must have. But yeah, sometimes.
That's what the stat says.
Yeah, no,
So
I believe you.
If
It's
we're
just-
going by that, then it
Yeah.
could be a very good day for him on Sunday.
There are certain. I mean, what other like Didier Drogba just loved scoring goals against us for whatever
yeah,
reason. He just absolutely loved it. There were. I'm just trying to think of Harry Kane, but he scored against everyone, didn't he? But yeah, there are certain occasions. We were just talking about Aaron Ramsey in FA Cup finals. You know, he
That's
played in
right.
3 of them,
Yeah.
scored in 2.
Yeah,
But he was brilliant in them. I don't know. Sometimes
I think that does happen to even like going back to when I played football many years ago. There are just certain opponents that you play against that you just fancy yourself to do well against that day. I'm sure you've had the same when you've played football.
There were definitely certain like rivalries and fixtures that I was just more excited
forward
about
to them
because
more than most.
you just felt like, okay, you know, it's a
I
big
know I can do it
occasion or-
against these lot.
Yeah. I'm just, by
But
the
as
way,
we're winding up,
Yeah.
it would be remiss of me not to get your predictions for the game and how you think this game's going to play out. I mean, we've spoken for a vast part of the show on how do we win at Goodison Park. I'm going to put it to you straight. Can we win? Will we win? And if we do win, who do you think will be the major game players on Sunday?
Well, just as I answer that, I might have been a touch harsh on Ramsey because I'm just looking back at some of his numbers. That 13-14 season, we got 10 goals, 9 assists in 23 games. Phenomenal help. I mean, 19 goals and assists in 23 is incredible. In the seasons after that, there was a dip. 6-6 in 29, 5-4 in 31, 1-5 in 23 before that, but then 7-10. In the 24 games, 17-18 season, and 4-6. So the point I'm trying to make is, while he never got to the heights of the 13-14 season, his numbers weren't as bad. The drop-off wasn't as significant as I remember, but I still think on the ball, he wasn't, it wasn't just everything else. But anyway, will we win? Can we win?
Will it be a draw?
I think we will win. I think we are better equipped to deal with this. I think the team is a year more experienced on last year. I think Jesus will be big for a game like this. I think Declan Rice will make a massive difference. When we talk about Havertz getting forward, you then need someone who's going to cover the space really well. Partey struggled at Goodison last year, and actually having a Rice who could sort of cover that area really well might be crucial. But let's just have one thing right. And I know we're sitting here 10 points out of 12. Cool, that's good. Win against Man United going to the international break, that's fantastic. 2 late goals, that's all brilliant. We haven't played, I don't think, anywhere near our best in these opening 4 games.
I would agree.
That doesn't mean I think we've been bad. I don't think we've been bad.
I don't think we've been at our fluid best, but, patches we've been very good.
We've been compact at times. We've shown nice shape at times. We've largely dominated games statistically. But in terms of fluidity and looking like a team that are going to score with every attack, we haven't been that. So, yes, I think we will win, but it's going to require a jump in form. It's not keep going and doing what you're doing and we'll be fine. Go out there and just dust off the cobwebs from the international break and just go and do your thing. No. The players have to show a very clear elevation of their performances because, like I said, Goodison, terrible record there, small pitch, and it's just a hostile atmosphere that I think can be quite difficult to manage, and you can silence a crowd like that by playing really good football. But thirdly, and more importantly, they've played well. Don't let the 1 point out of 12 fool people. They've played well enough to really, they should have 3, and they should have 7 points really out of 12. And
I would agree that the position in the table does not really do them justice. I think they've been better than that. Indeed, the manager, Sean Dyche, has been keen to emphasise that in his press conferences. So I do take your point there.
Just quickly, we've got some super chat from Yasavi says, after Van Persie and Fabregas, I think Ramsey was the best player at the Emirates era. May not be a legend, but definitely crucial. Yasavi, he was crucial at times. I'll give you that. He might be the most impactful in terms of what he did during the Emirates era, but I don't think he was top 3 or anywhere near it. Jalen's come back and says Ramsey not a legend, but Brady is. What did they both win? I didn't watch Brady. I'm not, was Brady a better player than Ramsey?
Different types of player. Brady was more silky. Ramsey's very technical. Brady was in an era where we were winning more things at that time. So I think many people might say Brady, but hey, it's so difficult to judge players from different eras.
Well, Jalen also says he was a consistent ball player. I don't think he was. I don't think he was consistent on the ball. I think the bits I agree with is great engines and had goals. I'll give you that. Even when
I thought he was a very good technical player, actually, Ramsey.
I think he could pull off tricks and skill, but I don't think he had
good range of passing.
It was okay. I'm not sure it was. I think his passing was hit and miss on his day when he was feeling it brilliant. I'm not sure he was always. Let me put it this way, because EE Panda's come with a great comment. Cazorla, Rosicky, Nasri, Fabregas, Wilshere before injuries, and Hleb were all superior to Ramsey according to EE Panda. Now, I'm not going to go through each one and whether I agree, but what I'm saying is they were all levels above in terms of technicians, I believe. But like when we have these debates, it sounds like I'm trying to slander a player that actually I really like what he did for the club. And I just think sometimes the discussion goes too much one way, and I'm just reeling it back in and going, I don't think it's all the way here, where people are saying, very good player, had some fantastic moments, and has had a bigger mark on Arsenal history than most of those players I just mentioned. Don't get me wrong, if not all of them, when you look at the FA Cup final goals and whatnot. But I don't think he was world class or in the discussion of legendary status.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't quite have him in the legend category, because legend category is reserved for the very best. I mean, that's what the clue is in the name. You're given the word legend because you're achieving things that mere mortals have not done. I don't necessarily agree when people bestow the word legend on people just because they've had X amount of caps, although that is something that's very credit worthy, having X amount of caps. But you know what I'm saying. Nowadays, if a guy's been at a club X amount of years, they automatically get the word legend bestowed on them. I don't agree with that. But what I would say about Ramsey in recent years, not so recent, but he was a very good player for Arsenal, came out with some big goals and some big moments.
And may I just say one last thing I love about him, because I think people are going to think I'm really on his back, and suddenly, you know what it's like, they're going to just decide I don't rate him just because I don't rate him as much as everyone else. I love that he was an ever-present for Wales, gave his all for his country, meant everything to him to get them to the World Cup, to perform so well at the Euros. And now he's gone back to Cardiff, where, I don't know, maybe there were other offers for still a good player.
Apparently there was.
You know, right. Yeah. And he's gone back to Cardiff, his boyhood club, to go and play his football. And that's a wonderful story. There's a lot I really respect about Aaron Ramsey. Nothing more than the return from the injury. And I want to make that point clear. I just don't put him at the level as everyone else, but that's fine. Everyone sees it differently.
And in closing, my prediction for the game. You did say
I said 2-0 Arsenal win. Yeah, I think we'll win 2-0.
I'm going 2-1. I know sometimes that can be a safe prediction, but I genuinely feel that this will be a difficult game. We will have to earn the right to play, because I do think Everton will make it tough for us, especially in midfield. And I do think up top, our defenders will be occupied with Beto or Calvert-Lewin or whoever it is, Danjuma. They've got players there that can cause problems. So I'm expecting a very difficult game. However, this is a big game for us, as big for us as it is for them, even though they're struggling at the bottom of the table. And I do think that we will overcome it. The likes of Declan Rice. We spoke about Odegaard's great form. I spoke about Gabriel Jesus, his record of doing so well against Everton. We got guys like Eddie, who are playing well at the moment, and Saliba at the back, even though he wasn't that good for France at the weekend. But listen, I think we've got enough players in the team. I think our attitude will be right. The manager will have them well prepared, and I think we'll eke out a very good but somewhat difficult 2-1 victory.
Hope you're right. Well, 3 points. I don't care how it comes. Give us 3 points. I'll worry about performances more at home. We need a level. We need a level up on performance to win. I know I just said that, but ultimately, if it's a smash and grab, whatever, it's at home. I worry more about performances. But yeah, I've got a final super chat. Michael says, Fulham result was bad, but if we win at Everton, our point return will be better than last season for the fixture we've played so far. Big up AFTV. That's an interesting observation, Michael.
Yeah, it is.
That's a great observation. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all about the results.
Tell Mikel he'll put that on the screen before the game. Oh, by the way, before we round up, everyone, download the AFTV Plus app. That's your chance to join us on FANZONE. You see it there. You can download it on iOS devices, on the Google Play Store, whatever it might be. Download AFTV Plus, free to do, and then you can join us on FANZONE, free to do. We're rounding up the show now with our amazing host, Laurie.
Thank you very much. I really enjoyed it, bro. Thank you very much for your insights and your stats and your tactical nous. I really enjoyed debating the things with you. And thanks to everybody that's watching, all the people who rang in. Special thanks to you. Like James says, download the app, join us on FANZONE. Don't forget to join us on Sunday. We'll be watching the game in the studio. We've got some special guests lined up. Make sure you tune in. It's going to be big. And let's hope that Arsenal can bring it home on Sunday. Take care. We're out.